In eastern Serbia, some 8 kilometers from the town of Knjaževac, there is an archaeological site, Timacum Minus, a Roman settlement from the 1st century AD. It was built as a military camp, intended for Roman legionaries, and 2 centuries later it became a fortification with towers from which the roads for Mediana and Felix Romuliana, the respective residences of Roman emperors Constantine the Great and Galerius, were defended. The artifacts from this archaeological site have been exhibited in the Knjaževac Museum, but also in a nearby village of Ravna, namely in an archaeological ethno park situated in the yard of a village school dating from 1906. In 1985, the park was reconstructed into an archaeological research station, which is also a cultural monument. Its lapidarium houses a collection of tombstones and sacrificial altars, which were found in the close vicinity of the fortification, with carved inscriptions dedicated to the god of war, Mars, and the goddess of the hunt and moon, Diana. This testifies to the existence of temples, military fortifications, and a civilian settlement on the site. The Roman tombstones in this area differ very slightly to the present ones. The figures of husband and wife, sometimes of entire families, were carved into the stone. One can see a dedication inscription in the middle of a tombstone and a vine at the bottom, which confirms the fact that the Knjaževac area was a well-known vineyard as early as in Roman times. Interestingly enough, many tombstones were discovered within the fortification walls, which is why they are so well preserved. It is believed that Romans used them to have the walls renovated, the tombstones being close at hand. In addition to the tombstone collection, the park also boasts several houses that represent authentic and valuable examples of folk architecture of the late 19th century. One of them is a replica of a house in the village of Gornja Kamenica, which belonged to a wealthy household, judging by its furniture, but also by the size of the house and rooms. A specific feature of the houses in this area was a slightly elevated room at the ultimate end of the porch, which served as a storage for fruit or vegetables, for curing meat or storing different things, and sometimes even for a young married couple to spend their wedding night in. The house in the Ravna Ethno Park has a wine cellar on its ground floor, with all the accompanying elements for wine production, processing and storage. This wine cellar has been included in the official Serbian wine trail. Opposite this house there is a small one, an authentic example of a poor household, which was transformed to the ethno park from a village at the foot of the Mount Stara Planina in southeastern Serbia. Another house, yet another replica of a house in the village of Radičevac, is in the stage of reconstruction. In this house, 2 suites will be built on the first floor to accommodate guests, as the park hosts various seminars and workshops in summer. At the moment, guests are accommodated in a former school building, which has become a research center. Tours of this archaeological ethno park are organized for special groups of tourists who can also taste traditional delicacies from this region of Serbia. The Ravna Archaeological Ethno Park is one of 3 elements forming the Knjaževac Town Museum, an institution that a few years ago was awarded the Tourist Flower Prize, presented by the National Tourist Organization in the category of cultural heritage serving for tourism purposes. The other 2 parts of the museum are in the town of Knjaževac itself. One of them houses a permanent exhibition of thematic and chronological artifacts from the prehistoric times to the mid-20th century, whereas the other is the museum of the town of Knjaževac. The museum edifices themselves are cultural monuments and exquisite examples of urban architecture from the late 19th century. One of the most interesting exhibits in the museum is a prehistorical drawing, a unique example of prehistoric art from the village of Grabovnica on Mount Stara Planina. The museum also boasts representations of medieval art from the Church of Holy Virgin in the village of Donja Kamenica, 14 kilometers from Knjaževac. A special unit of the permanent ethnological exhibition is a very rich and varied collection of double-woven ornamented socks, accompanied by richly illustrated documents collected by village teachers Vidosava and Svetozar Popović. A significant museum section is also a collection of exquisite paintings by local artist Dragoslav Živković. The Museum of the town of Knjaževac represents a supreme example of urban architecture and the interior of the late 19th century. It boasts a rich collection of applied art, furniture, glass and artifacts used in rich households, including the family of Aca Stojanović, whose house is the home to the museum.